I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents. As the year for priests ends, we go back to where a lot of vocations begin, in the family.
Who better to also acknowledge than the parents of priests, where we all came from.
Plus, 1 year after major heart surgery, how's he doing? Bishop DiMarzio drops by.
Recognizing your mortality makes you be a little bit more conscious of the spiritual needs you have.
And Hollywood comes to Brooklyn for Ned's Faith Film Festival. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. An extraordinary year has drawn to a close as Pope Benedict marked the end of the year for priests. Last night, an estimated 15,000 priests jammed into St. Peter's Square for what is believed to be the largest ever gathering of priests. There, during an evening prayer vigil, the pontiff reaffirmed the value of priestly celibacy. Benedict said that celibacy is made possible by the grace of God, who asks us to transcend ourselves.
And the Pope had even stronger words this morning at a Mass in the same square, where he spoke directly about the sex abuse crisis and asked for forgiveness.
E così è successo che proprio in questo anno di gioia per il sacramento del sacerdozio siano venuti alle luci i peccati di sacerdoti, soprattutto l'abuso nei confronti dei piccoli, nel quale il sacerdozio come compito della sua premura di Dio a vantaggio dell'uomo viene volto nel suo contrario. Anche noi chiediamo insistentemente perdono a Dio e alle persone coinvolte, mentre intendiamo promettere di voler fare tutto il possibile affinché un tale abuso non possa succedere mai più.
Some powerful words there about a subject that has cast a long shadow over this year. Well, meantime, here closer to home in Brooklyn, a number of people marked the end of the year for priests by going back to the beginning, where it all begins for priests, their family.
Earlier this week, Bishop DiMarzio hosted an evening for priests and their parents out in Douglaston.
Today we've come together to honor the mothers and fathers of the priests of the diocese. Basically, we've come on this feast of Corpus Christi to thank them for the gift of their sons to the diocese, because it is through the ministry of priests that we have the Eucharist. So it was a wonderful day to do this. We give thanks to you, mothers and fathers, all who are present and not present, for the wonderful gift that you have given to the church by supporting and loving your sons into the priesthood.
Well, in this year, which is dedicated to prayer for priests and their sanctification, the bishop asked that I would come up with ideas of events that could help to promote that. I thought, who better to also acknowledge than the parents of priests, where we all came from.
Well, for most priests, we owe our vocations to our parents, who fostered a life of prayer and faith in our childhood. That's why it's important.
There's never an easy road to the priesthood, but I think today this society doesn't always see the life of a priest as important. So there is a special set of circumstances that most young people today, if they want to be priests, they have to overcome it.
Man has eaten the bread of angels.
I decided to enter the seminary after 3 semesters in college. So it was halfway through my sophomore year, so I was 19. Initially, my parents had a little bit of, they hesitated a bit, a little bit of nervousness, you know, because it's this great unknown. But I think that was quickly transformed. And above all, they saw that I was happy. And I think that's what all parents want for their children, to know that they're happy and that they're being fulfilled in what they're doing, whether that's through their work, through their relationships, through their marriage, or through a vocation like the priesthood.
Sometimes parents may feel that they're losing a son because they may not have grandchildren, or maybe their son won't be close living by them. But what you get in the return is a magnificent feeling, and you have a joyful life having a son as a priest. And your family increases. You have many more sons because the priests there. Priests are your sons.
A priest is a gift to any family, and yet we look at our sons and we still see our little boys, and yet we want and expect so much of them. Bishop has honored us today and made us very, very happy people.
I just love hearing from the moms there. They're
so much fun.
So proud and so happy. Well, there's more currents to come. Just ahead, we'll have the day's headlines, including reports that the Pope's phone has been tapped. We have that and more next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, faith-filled films are featured Fridays on the net. We'll talk to the host of the Faith Film Festival.
Say that 5 times fast.
Right.
All right, first let's turn to the day's headlines. A proposal making its way through the Massachusetts state legislature would allow resort-style casinos to be built there, but the state's Catholic bishops say they oppose that measure. A spokesman for the Massachusetts Catholic Conference told a state Senate committee this week the bishops believe gambling is morally unacceptable and the harm it causes reaches far beyond individual gamblers by affecting their families and communities. The bill has already passed the State House. The 10 Commandments are still not welcome at 2 courthouses in Kentucky. A federal appeals court this week upheld a lower court ruling banning displays of the commandments from courthouses in McCreary and Pulaski counties. In a 2-to-1 decision, the panel of judges ruled the displays unconstitutional because their purpose was religious, not educational. The displays first went up in 1999, but the ACLU sued to have them removed shortly thereafter, sparking a long legal battle. Lawyers for the county say they will appeal. And Christmas is still more than 6 months away, but a holiday ad in the UK is already stirring up plenty of controversy. The newly released poster art from churchads.net shows an ultrasound of Jesus with a halo over his head. The ad reads, "He's on his way. Christmas starts with Christ." One critic told the Guardian newspaper that the ad appears to be politically motivated because the image is too specifically associated with the pro-life movement. Creators of the poster say it is meant to create anticipation, like proud parents-to-be showing an ultrasound to family and friends. Revelation of the new ad comes just weeks after controversy surrounding the UK's first ever TV commercial for abortion services.
Italian police secretly listened in on some of Pope Benedict's phone conversations last year in the midst of a corruption investigation. Officers recorded calls last year between the pontiff and Italian civil protection chief Guido Bertolaso. The two were speaking in the wake of a devastating earthquake in Italy's L'Aquila region. Bertolaso is at the center of a corruption investigation involving sexual favors and kickbacks for reconstruction projects after the quake. Pope Benedict is not suspected of any wrongdoing. Reports say Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was also recorded on the phone with Bertolaso. And finally, the World Cup soccer tournament kicked off today in South Africa, but that country's bishops are spreading the word about another competition on the field. The South African Catholic Bishops' Conference put together the International Soccer Peace Tournament to take place parallel to the World Cup. Organizers of the Peace Tournament say it brings together soccer teams from all of the realities of South Africa, from the townships to the more affluent neighborhoods. A spokesman says he hopes the contest will promote peace and understanding among all.
I'm not sure that more football is ever a bad thing.
Right, there you go.
Stay tuned. There's more currents coming up.
Coming up, heart and soul. The bishop on his surgery 1 year later.
You need to take care of your health. I mean, it's God's gift to you, your life.
Welcome back. Well, it may be hard to believe, but it was almost exactly 1 year ago, June 16th, that Bishop DiMarzio underwent bypass surgery.
That's right. He's made a remarkable recovery, but he's learned some lessons along the way as well. And recently, the bishop and I went into the deep to talk about just that. Bishop DiMarzio, thanks again for being here. We appreciate it. We're talking today about your heart surgery. It was just about a year ago that you had your multiple bypass surgery performed. Right. How are you feeling these days?
Well, thank God, very good. well behind me now. The first few months were difficult, but I'm thinking very well now.
Yeah, I remember talking to you not long after the surgery and you know, kind of getting an update then. I think I saw you, it was at the West Indian American Day Parade a couple of months after that, and it was kind of your first big, you know, appearance out in public after that. And you were saying, yeah, I was feeling pretty good, but you had to take some medication. I believe that you weren't allowed to be out in the sun for very long.
Couldn't be in the sun, right.
But all that's over with now, I imagine.
That's over with, thank God. Yeah.
Tell people a little bit about your routine and what's changed since before the surgery and now after.
Well, I always exercise, thank God, but I have to do more now. So I used to walk about a mile a day. Now I do 2 miles a day on the treadmill, and I do 20 minutes on the elliptical trainer and then a few other exercises. It takes a little bit over an hour every day. But that's kind of like part of my religion now.
There you go.
Exercise besides the other religious responsibilities. So that's changed, and certainly be careful with the diet, and as you need to do that. It's probably more attitudinal things, you know, trying to not let the stress take too much of a toll on us. There's a lot of stress in everybody's life, and as bishop there is, but that's important to try to manage that a little bit better. Try to pace yourself a little bit more. It hasn't slowed up at all, but we try to not to put too many things at one time to make it at least possible without really stressing out too much.
There you go. Well, and those are of course, a lot of the physical changes and the daily life changes as far as your scheduling goes and all that, and maybe attitudinal changes as well. What about spiritually? Has anything changed for you spiritually since the surgery?
Well, certainly, I think recognizing your mortality makes you be a little bit more conscious of the spiritual needs you have. I was pretty sick, and afterwards had some complications, and well, prayed a lot. You know, you had more opportunity to reflect and to look at life and look at the important things in life. I think any illness does that to people, and that was my opportunity at this stage of my life to be even more appreciative for the gift of health and the other gifts God has given me.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, I think a year ago when we were talking about this, my dad went through a similar thing. His was triggered, though, by a heart attack. He had a heart attack and then had to have the surgery. Yours is a little bit different story. They caught it in time for you. So as someone who has been through this, what advice would you give to other people out there, maybe you know, folks around your age who might have similar health concerns? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think you got to stay with your doctor. You have to trust your doctor, and to do today, I mean, they've been able to diagnose things ahead of time. That's the key thing. You know, there's so many things that if they're caught ahead of time, they can be helped today with medical science. So staying away from doctors doesn't really help you. You really should have a good doctor, and we know on the net we have Dr. Garner here giving all kinds of good advice. And but you need to take care of your health. I mean, it's God's gift to you, your life. Yeah. So we just can't waste it, and we have to be careful with it and do the best we can with it.
And Dr. Garner came in actually on the day, it was the day of your surgery, maybe the day before, and was talking about it. I sat down with him, and he kind of went through details. Smart man. He had the X-rays of somebody's heart, and he was going through there, pointing through. Okay, here's what they're doing. So it was very good. He is a very good one. So what's been for you maybe the easiest part of your recovery, and what's been the most difficult for you?
Well, the easiest part. That's a good question. Well,
has anything been easy? That may be the better question.
Well, it wasn't all that easy, the recovery. I mean, I was running up the stairs this morning, and I said, gee, a year ago, I couldn't run up these stairs, you know. I forgot something, I ran back up. I wouldn't have done it, you know. So the difficulty is that you had to learn how to pace yourself and to do things differently, you know, as you were used to. That was difficult to change that. I think maybe the easy part was the kind of a spiritual uplift you got from it, because it was a spiritual experience. You know, you really, you know, face life a little differently, and that helped. That was a positive. How easy it was, but it was very positive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. Very good. Nice to hear it. Okay. Thank you so much, You're Bishop DiMarzio, for joining us here once again.
Isn't it funny how something you wouldn't welcome turns into something that is positive?
Yeah, absolutely. And well, and I alluded to you know, my dad's bypass surgery that he had, and that's exactly that. I mean, he had his heart attack, and then he had this surgery, and we were all scared and shocked that day. Then afterwards and during the recovery, and he has said many times how much better he felt after the surgery, after the recovery, than he did before. He was like, I didn't know what living was really, because he had just gotten used to kind of being a little bit more sluggish and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's very true.
One of my grandfather's favorite sayings, old Italian Catholic, Knights of Columbus member, all of that, he always would say, education is expensive no matter what the cost.
Yeah.
Meaning, whatever it takes to kind of get you to see things in whatever way that works for you, really enables you to move forward and perhaps in this case really have a much richer experience on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a price to pay, but because it's not a fun experience going through something like that. But yeah, as you said, you come out on the other side not only feeling better physically, generally speaking, but also learning a lesson and improving your life.
Well, Bishop DiMarzio looks great and sounds great.
Yes,
so
he does.
We're happy about that. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Just ahead, lights, camera, faith.
If you're just a filmmaker or just a person with a great idea, you can definitely grab your camera and start filming.
Finally, it is Friday, TGIF, and it is a great night to go to the movies. And here at the Net, you don't even have to go too far. In fact, don't even touch that remote. Coming up in just a bit, right after Currents, is the Faith Film Festival, which has become an annual tradition right here at the Net.
Sounds like a lot of fun, too. It's a showcase for original movies about faith and values. To find out more, our Natalia Ortiz sat down to chat with the show's host, Lorena Jorge.
Lorena, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you. So tell us about the Faith Film Festival and how long does it go on? I mean, give me an overview of the show.
Okay. Well, the Faith Film Festival, it's basically a show that gives the opportunity for independent filmmakers to showcase their work and with a positive message. So they speak a little bit about Christianity, but also about the family, the home, the community. So it's a beautiful chance or sort of a platform to allow filmmakers that really don't get to speak about certain topics that are a little controversial.
Okay, and how long has it been going on and approximately how many people participate?
Well, it's been going on for about 2 years now. We're on our second season, and primarily we get a lot of submissions. Last year we got about 40 submissions of the films, and this year we got about 80 submissions.
So it doubled.
Yes.
Which is a good sign.
It's a beautiful sign. Keeps us going strong.
What kind of movies or topics are talked about? What issues are dealt with, I guess, is my question.
Well, a lot of the issues that are dealt with is sort of home issues, family issues, relationship issues, also just life issues, things that you have to deal with on an everyday life, whether work, whether sort of confrontations, or just primarily tough times that we undergo as human beings. So it really talks about that, but looking at the brighter side, having faith in things that might turn out well regardless.
Okay. So it sounds like a lot of these movies end up well, like there's a happy ending to them mostly?
They do. I mean, we primarily have a lot of documentaries also given in, so they talk about a lot of things, a lot of controversial or hard times that people have had. Sort of one of the prior submissions were Iron Man, which is basically a gentleman that had both his limbs unfortunately cut away, and going through that tough time, accepting the reality and just not being able to deal with it, and he turned to his faith and primarily being able to live, regardless of what. And he entered a marathon and did things that, regardless of his limbs going, he can still keep going and still live an everyday life as normal.
That's interesting that you feature not just things that people make up, but also real life situations that they can represent and play out on the screen. Tell me a little bit about who submits. I mean, is anyone allowed to submit? Do you have to be a filmmaker per se, or can I just go home and grab my camera and make a film and submit it?
Well, definitely. I mean, if you have an idea, you can definitely grab your camera. Of course, we would like to have the most professional as possible, but we like substance. So even if certain things aren't as professional as we would like them to be, considering the times and budgeting, it's pretty difficult to actually raise up or do fundraising nowadays. So if you're just a filmmaker or just a person with a great idea, you can definitely grab your camera and start filming and submit.
Okay, so it's a festival, so I'm assuming there's going to be a winner or some kind of prize. Tell us about this.
Well, we actually have the Golden Lighthouse Award, which is our first prize winner that we give $500 away. And then we also have the Audience Award, because we would like for the viewers to give their opinions, to go online, vote for their favorites, because we would like not to just give our own opinion, what we think was great, but we also like to have an interactive community.
Okay, so some awards are given by, you could say, the audience or the people that
definitely
that participate via the internet on netny.net.
Of course, and we also have exclusive films that don't get to be part of the actual film festival, but get to be part of our website.
Oh, okay.
So even if you don't see them on the actual show being aired, you can log onto our website and still vote on those exclusive web films that we would take in.
It sounds great. Now, tell me about, I know I've heard that this year, because things have gotten a little bit bigger, you just said, I've heard some talks about renting out a theater so that people can see these, not just on their television screens, but perhaps on a big screen.
Yes, I'm very excited. We're actually having our first film festival screening on October 1st. It's from 8 to 10 p.m., where we're actually going to screen the top 6 films that have been chosen with the Golden Lighthouse Award, which is our secret judges have chosen, and also the Audience Award, and several other awards that we have that not necessarily have a cash prize, but still have the recognition of putting across a great film.
Great. Is there going to be a red carpet? Because we want to be there.
Oh, definitely. We definitely have to have a red carpet. It's just only right.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you for having me.
I'm sure the audience will love now, after you've explained, to watch the Faith Film Festival. Yes. Friday is at 8. All those F's. Faith Film Festival.
It's a tongue twister. I don't know how I make
Fridays
at 8.
Okay, great. Take care.
Pleasure.
The Faith Film Festival with faith-filled films on Friday. All those F's in there. But no, that's so cool, though. I really like that they're going to actually do a screening and, you know, kind of award ceremony presentation and all that, too. That's really cool, kind of branching out a little bit.
Well, it's nice to be able to take it out into the community. Obviously, the TV is one thing, but you know, to really bring it forward, and it's nice to be able to give the filmmakers that kind of recognition, even if there isn't necessarily a big monetary prize associated with it. The fact that they can get that recognition and know that their film had value, and the content of the movies, obviously, is, as she was saying earlier when she was talking about this man who had gone through such hardships and still persevered. That's really sort of uplifting, and I think that's the whole point. And the more that people see that kind of thing, you know, perhaps they can relate it to their own lives and feel like they too, even though they're going through some hard times, have a chance. You know, every new day is a new day.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, you can see these films on air, you can see them online, you can see ones that you don't see on air online, and you can see even more films coming up in October, the beginning of October, with that screening that we were talking about. And I think if I were a filmmaker, just to be in the theater seeing my film on the big screen, that's just going to be so cool. So we'll keep in touch with the Faith Film Festival, because there's a lot of good stuff going on.
It's good TV.
That's right. And the Faith Film Festival airs on Fridays throughout the summer right here on the net after Currents. Well, that is it for tonight. Now remember, you can always watch us online. We're over at currentsny.net. Check us out over on Facebook too.
Until next time, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night and a great weekend.